legend of Cassius Clay, the most beautiful fighter in the world today.
There'll never be another Muhammad Ali.
He was something fresh. He was something we'd never seen.
This I predict, and I know the score. I'll be champ of the world in 64.
Since he first fought his way to public attention, he's been among the most charismatic and polarizing cultural figures on the world stage.
Big mouth, loud mouth, Louisville lip.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Oh!
You said Muhammad Ali, you said voice, mouth.
And this might shock and amaze you, but I will destroy Joe Frazier.
Ali is the people's champ. Ali is the revolution.
Cassius Clay is a name no more, is that right?
Yes, sir. It's Muhammad Ali.
Here was this young kid from Louisville telling the truth about the way things were.
He was going to be very vocal about the problems this country had.
In a turbulent time, he fearlessly fused sports, politics, race, and religion.
When Ali refused induction into the United States Army,
So many people were ready to crucify him for his stance.
Stripped of his title and exiled from the ring, he became a symbol of principled defiance.
3.5 years out of the game because he did what he believed was right.
In an epic comeback, he beat the odds, his stunning victories transcending the sport itself.
When have you ever had a fighter become bigger than life, defy the government and win, and then come back and become champion of the world again?
This is the story of Muhammad Ali.
I am the greatest.
In Their Own Words is made possible in part by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
On the night of July 19, 1996, the whole world watches as 54-year-old Muhammad Ali sets the cauldron ablaze at the Olympic Games in Atlanta. The sight of the Olympic gold medalist and three-time heavyweight boxing champion defying Parkinson's disease to light the Olympic flame warms public affection for a man who 3 decades earlier was a racial and political lightning rod.
It was a great thing for the country. It was a great thing for Muhammad Ali. But if he were not sick, would America have allowed him to do the same thing?
Muhammad Ali has been beatified in some ways because he's no longer threatening to the establishment. People forgot that there was a time when Muhammad Ali was very dangerous.
He was dangerous in the ring.
If he goes down again, it's over. Hey, I'm the greatest thing that ever lived. I still got the world. I still got the world.
But some saw him as dangerous outside the ring.
Out of all people, takes an Uncle Tom Negro to keep continually calling me by a slave name, which is a white name, Cassius Clay.
He was against the war when, for the first time, we as Americans actually said, no, this isn't right. He was a champion when we were gaining black pride and civil rights. He was our moral conscience. He was our athletic dream. Muhammad Ali epitomized what we were all about in the 60s.
He was on a spiritual quest, breaking out, coming out of Louisville, going on that search for meaning, going to the Olympics, coming back, meeting the dark forces, 3.5 years of exile while he's fighting for his life, and then coming out on top. It's the hero's journey, man.
I'm going to save boxing. I'm good looking, clean living, cultured, and I am modest.
The man who would become Muhammad Ali is born Cassius Marcellus Clay in Louisville, Kentucky in 1942, the era of the segregated Jim Crow South.
You know, a black man was always supposed to be subservient, always supposed to say, yes, sir, boss, and you're supposed to just, play that game forever.
When we woke up in the morning, the first thing that comes to your mind is that your blackness is going to be what white America is going to look at and judge you by.
Blacks, if they were lucky, could aspire to be teachers, but that was the top of the social strata. Most often it was the black citizens of Louisville who raked manure into the backstretch at Churchill Downs.
Cassius and his younger brother Rudy are raised in Louisville's struggling black middle class.
Cassius Clay didn't grow up in a ghetto. His family lived in a very modest but comfortable house. He had 2 parents at home. There was always enough to eat. He always had money for clothes.
Clay's father is a skilled sign painter, a proud and volatile man.
You know, my grandfather, Cassius Clay Sr., you know, he's kind of in my father's genes, you know, very extroverted and bold and loved himself. So he got a lot of that from his father.
Odessa Clay was a very sweet, nurturing woman. And when you looked at Cassius, you saw the 2 parents fused into one personality.
As with many classic heroes, the origin of Muhammad Ali involves a twist of fate. In 1954, 12-year-old Cassius Clay rides his brand new bicycle to a black business expo in downtown Louisville.
Cassius spent some time walking around, getting free candy, seeing what was there. When it was time to leave, he went outside, and his new red and white Schwinn bicycle had been stolen. Somebody told him that there was a policeman in the basement of the building teaching youngsters how to box.
Furious young Clay finds Officer Joe Martin in the Columbia gym. Clay is ready to fight whoever stole his bike. Martin calms him down and suggests that if he wants to fight, he should first learn how. Martin teaches the 89-pound Clay how to box, and his teenage student is eager to learn. Within weeks, young Clay wins his first amateur bout. It's the start of something bigger than either of them can possibly imagine.
There was another black trainer at a black gym named Fred Stoner, who he also worked with. But Joe Martin was the person that was held up and put out front for the publicity. Here's the white policeman. He taught this young fellow how to box. It's a feel-good story.
Ambitious, driven Cassius Clay becomes a national Golden Gloves champion.
It's a TKO decision for Cassius Clay.
Rock and roll pioneer Lloyd Price often gigs in Louisville. But despite the fact that his song Stagger Lee is topping the charts, he's got to find lodging in a guest house on the black side of town.
There was a corner spot called Rivers Lounge, and I would go there because it wasn't far from the guest house. And this young Cassius Clay would always come by there, and him and his brother, Rudolph was his name. And he said that he's gonna be the champion of the world. He always had a big mouth, you know. I'm gonna be the champion of the world. You know, he had all this energy, and he was ambitious, and the young guys at that time wasn't thinking like he was thinking.
John F. Kennedy is running for president in May of 1960. As 18-year-old Golden Gloves champ Cassius Clay wins the U.S. Olympic trials in San Francisco, then goes on to take the light heavyweight gold medal at the Summer Games in Rome.
1960, I'm in the Olympic Village in Rome, and this person is sitting on some steps, and he's got a gold medal around his neck, and he's talking about what he's going to do with his life in very loud terms. And the thing that caught me about him, I noticed all the women turned around when they got 5 yards away to take a second look.
But despite all the attention he gets in Rome, Clay finds that Olympic gold still won't buy him a place at the table in his own hometown.
Here we were being idolized as competing athletes on one hand, and then on the other hand, there were certain restaurants you couldn't go in.
You know, it's not fun for people to tell you, yo, you can't eat here. It's irritating when people try to hold you down. You don't get up and start chanting, you know, you get up and start swinging.
Boxing in 1960 has been a notoriously corrupt sport, rife with mob influence and crooked managers. Into this cesspool step 11 prominent Louisville businessmen backing their hometown Olympic hero.
The Louisville sponsoring group were composed of white men who had good intentions.
They were going to help Clay be something, keep him out of the clutches of evil.
With the sponsoring group in his corner, the former amateur Olympian begins his professional career on October 29, 1960. Tunney Hunsaker is the first to fall victim to Clay's raw talent. Realizing their promising young fighter needs an experienced professional trainer, the group sends Clay to Miami to work with Angelo Dundee, who had trained world champion Carmen Basilio.
Few people in the history of our game were ever finer cornermen than Angelo Dundee. Angelo used to say, this kid does everything wrong. Does everything wrong, but it comes out right.
He did everything what they would characterize as being wrong, fundamentally. Kept his hands down, he swayed back and forth, he just pulled out of way of punches just by millimeters.
Over the next 2 years, Dundee guides the unorthodox Clay to 19 victories in a row against a parade of heavyweights. Some are a challenge for the flashy young fighter. Most are not.
Heavyweights were not known to be that fast, and that mobile, and that fluid. Guys couldn't hit them, especially heavyweight.
He might be big and he might be tall, but if he mess with me, he sure will fall.
Gaining self-confidence, Clay starts predicting the round his opponents will fall.
That he's gonna knock him out in 4, he did it. He's gonna knock him out in 5, he did it. 7, he did it. You know, that self-confidence is amazing what it will do to you.
You want to make a prediction in rhyme, or are you going to work on that for a while?
Well, it'll have to be in rhyme every time.
My father had to market his fights and doing poetry and making rhymes. And I never forget, I said, Dad, where did you get that from? And he says, you know, he goes, there was a wrestler, Gorgeous George.
Gorgeous George. He would say he was pretty and he would comb his blonde hair and he had 2 chicks on his arm and people would just hate him. They would just fill the whole auditorium just to see this guy get hit.
Inspired by Gorgeous George, Clay creates his own supremely confident persona.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Oh, rumble, young man, rumble. Oh!
Ali's the archetype for a rapper. Cockiness, the brashness, the offensiveness, the abrasiveness.
Hip-hop is about revolution. Hip-hop is a voice for the people. Ali is the people's champ. Ali is the revolution.
The real dive will come on November the 16th, and in your hearts, you know I'm right.
He's new to this game. He's got all these microphones and cameras in his face. He knows that there's a portion of the country that despises him and hates him. Ali was completely hip-hop.
By 1963, Clay's audacious antics make him unpopular with many sports writers and boxing fans.
There wasn't much that the older generation liked about Cassius Clay. The way he dissed them, laughed at their questions.
A hint to the wise is sufficient.
I remember seeing a Joe Louis fight. They asked him his reaction. He said, "I'm glad I win." Suddenly there was this guy who was not only articulate, but almost poetic, and with a great deal of braggadocio to boot.
I am the man this poem is about, the next champ of the world. There isn't a doubt.
If he told funny poems, it would be one thing. But he tells funny poems and tells you how great he is to have written them and how great a fighter he is, and he's the greatest of all time. That rubs some people the wrong way.
He was the best at everything. He was the most beautiful, and he hadn't really proven himself yet, so people are looking at him like, who does he think he is?
But the example of a proud, confident black man appeals to a young generation who admire the fact that Clay isn't afraid to represent.
To African Americans, he was a source of pride in that he took great delight in who he was and in broadcasting it to everyone.
Just to say that you love yourself and to have self-pride showed people that they can do the same.
He made me feel proud to, to be a black man. He just represented a symbol of strength to me.
I'm going to make boxing popular again. Me with my beautiful, colorful personality.
21-year-old Clay is eager to prove he's more than a pretty face. Now a top heavyweight contender, he campaigns to fight the reigning champ, Sonny Liston.
He went after Sonny with a vengeance.
I want that bear.
And what's
I
going to
want
happen to
him
him?
bad.
What's going to happen to him? He might be great, but he'll fall in 8th.
He's driving a bus onto Sonny's lawn, and he's yelling, "I want the bear. Get the bear out here. Come on, bear." It was starting to get under Sonny's skin.
Big ugly bear, I'm tired of hearing Liston. Everywhere I go, they're talking about Liston. I can't wait for him, and he's going to fall in 8th.
He really tormented Liston. And finally, Liston said, yeah, I'll fight him. It'll be easy money.
Everybody believed that Liston would annihilate this guy because he was all talk.
If Sonny Liston whoops me, I'll kiss his feet in the rain.
With a record of 36-1, Liston is a fearsome champion, a former mob enforcer with ties to organized crime.
He's frightening. Sonny was a guy who was meant to hurt people.
Sonny Liston was Godzilla. Sonny Liston was going to reign for 1,000 years.
Adding to the foreboding sense of drama was the presence of members of the controversial Nation of Islam.
Nation of Islam was an isolationist group. Elijah Muhammad wanted his own nation inside the United States. So it was scary.
For the past few years, Clay has been studying the tenets of the Nation of Islam, as espoused by its leader, Elijah Muhammad, who preaches that white people are devils created by an evil scientist. But Clay is drawn to the basic message of black empowerment.
It made him understand and promote, what is your history? What is your African history? Who are you? What is your name? Why do you have that name?
I'd never heard anything like I heard going to the meetings with Ali. About you are somebody, a black man got as much right to live as any other man. For the first time in my life, as a grown man who had been a star, had sold millions of records, you start to feel like you are somebody. I can understand how he got hooked.
Clay is inspired by the nation's assertion of black pride, but the presence in his camp of the Nation of Islam's controversial Malcolm X threatens the Liston fight.
Malcolm X, I want to talk with you briefly about your affiliation with Cassius. How long have you known him? About 3 years.
Just months before, Malcolm X caused an uproar by suggesting that President Kennedy's assassination was a case of, quote, the chickens coming home to roost.
You did not say that you were glad the president was killed. No, that's what the press said.
The promoter fears that negative publicity will kill ticket sales, so Clay's camp gets Malcolm to leave Miami until the day of the fight. February 25, 1964. Boxing experts and fans agree that Liston will clobber the Louisville Lip.
They thought, well, even if it's going to be fast, it's going to be really ugly and bloody. Just what we fight fans want.
It was fast and it was bloody, but it was not what most fight fans expected.
The challenger from Louisville, Kentucky, Cassius Clay.
When the two men entered the ring, we suddenly realized that David was bigger than Goliath.
Another jarring right hand that time, folks. Another one. Sonny wobbles. Cassius has him hurt.
Clay dominates Liston from the bell, dancing around the slower champion and opening a cut under his left eye. After 7 punishing rounds, Liston claims an injured shoulder and won't come out for round 8, making Cassius Clay the new heavyweight champ.
I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world.
There were a number of people who immediately said, oh, the fix was in.
Sonny Liston quit against Cassius Clay. He was just getting beaten up. He didn't like it. He was a bully, and he couldn't take it.
After his stunning upset of Liston, Clay holds a press conference that would only amplify the shock factor.
Somebody said, are you a card-carrying member of the Black Muslims? And he blew up.
Clay confirms that he's a member of the Nation of Islam.
And he said, I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be who I want.